This Dogman sighting comes out of Burnett County, Wisconsin. The witness states that he's a skeptic of the supernatural and that he has always looked for a logical explanation for them. Now, he says that he has had a couple of strange occurrences, but that this one really freaked him out. He says he lives in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, and like a lot of people in the city, that his family owned a cabin, and that the cabin was located in rural Wisconsin, in a small town called Danbury, on Long Lake at the end of Long Lake Road. The cabin sat on an acre of land covered by thick forest. The witness states that he is 6'4" and fit, and has been a hunter since he was 12 years old. That he knows the environment, wildlife, and the forest very well. And that he comes from a military family and has had extensive firearm training. Now he states that when he was 16 that he was at the cabin with his cousin and his grandparents. He says that him and his cousin was off playing and talking in the woods when he noticed something moving right out in front of them about 50 meters out. He got quiet and started focusing ahead, scanning the area. His cousin was still talking, so he whispered, "Shh," so his cousin shut up. He thought what he had saw might have been a bird or something. Now, just as a joke, he told his cousin they were being watched. And that's when he noticed just how quiet the woods had gotten. With no birds chirping, just quiet. From being a hunter, he knew that when the woods gets this quiet, that it could mean there could be a big predator in the area. So he started looking around even closer. Now this is when he says he saw a large creature. It had reddish-brown fur and almost blended in perfectly until he focused in on it. The creature had long front limbs, almost arm-like, with what looked to be formidable claws. And it was standing somewhat slouched over against a tree. He thinks that the creature was trying to be stealthy, even though it was standing slouched over. It was almost, or was, as tall as he was. He says that one of the reasons he even saw the creature was its white teeth, and that it was panting, and its snout was elongated. Now at this point, he only had one thought. They had to go. So he said to his cousin, "We have to go." His cousin was freaked, and he bolted up the trail, leaving him in the dust, he says. Because he wanted to protect him, he kept his eyes on the creature until it moved. The creature was fast when it did move, leaving him to run like hell, he said. His cousin stopped at the shed and that it was about 50 meters from the cabin. As he was closing in on his cousin, he said, "Go, go, go." And they ran to the cabin, coming into the cabin, slamming the door. His grandmother asked what was wrong. He told her that they had seen a bear, knowing they wouldn't believe him if he told the truth. He says him and his cousin has never told anyone until now about the sighting, and they don't talk about it. So what do you think about this sighting? Drop me a comment down below. This Dogman sighting comes out of Rock County, Wisconsin. The witness said that she and 3 of her friends were out in a field, just hanging out and having a good time, just playing and messing around, when they started to hear some strange noises. They said that it sounded like it was a couple of 100 yards off in the field. But at this time, they didn't think too much about it. Then a little bit later, the noises started to get a little louder and seemed to be getting a little closer as well. Then they could hear what sounded like trees or branches breaking. Again, they tried to ignore the noises. But as it turns out, that wasn't the best thing they could have done, as they were about to find out. They heard a noise again, close this time. It made them all look up. While looking in the direction of the noise, they saw a strange creature. They said it stood 7 to 8 feet tall and that this creature was coming straight at them. The witness states that the creature stood upright, like a human on two legs, that it acted and moved like a human. It just didn't look like a human. It looked to be a dog or wolf with a snout and fur. They were completely surprised by what they were seeing. The witness states that they had no idea of what was going on. With being surprised and scared, they began to run towards their cars, never looking back to see if the creature was after them. Once they reached their cars, they drove off and never looked back. So what do you think they saw that day? Drop me a comment down below. This Dogman sighting comes out of Athens County, Ohio. No date was given in this report. The witness states that him and his girlfriend was driving down a remote country road in early summertime one late evening. That his girlfriend was driving and he was in the passenger seat, and that the sun was starting to set behind them. That they had just came around a curve when two deer jumped out into the road in front of them. He said the deer acted like they weren't even there, and that they seemed to be focused on something else. His girlfriend hit the brakes, bringing the car to a stop. He said to her, "Man, that was close." Now he states that this is when he looked up into the rearview mirror to see if any more deer was coming. He states that within the red lights of the taillights, that he saw something take a big step into the road from the brush that was on the side of the road. He says whatever it was, it landed on its right leg. Now, looking at the rearview mirror, he says that he only could see it mid-thigh up to its stomach. Now, in one motion, it took another step forward, while at the same time putting what looked to be a hand down on the trunk to steady itself. Once he saw this, he turned to look at his girlfriend, and she was wide-eyed and her mouth was open, while being as white as a ghost, he says, and that he could notice her eyes starting to tear up. So he looked back, but by this time it was already gone. He says to attempt to get a better look at this thing, he opened his car door and got out. When he looked, he states that he could see it moving down an embankment. Because of the brush, he says he could only see the creature from its armpits up. It was at least 7 foot tall and had very wide shoulders. He states its shoulders were at least 1.5 times his, and that he has wide shoulders. He says from the last bit of daylight, he could see that this creature was dark colored, black or a dark brown, he states, and that this thing had pointed ears on the top of its head like a dog's, saying its ears weren't overly wide or fuzzy, while its head was kind of dome-shaped with flat sides. It acted like they weren't even there, mainly because he seemed to be focused on the deer. At this time he was thinking, what in the world was this thing? He states that it looked like some kind of werewolf or wolfman to him. He also said that it was way too big to be a person, and that through the whole ordeal, he never got a chance to see its face. So what do you think they saw that night? Drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think. That's it for this one. I hope you liked it. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you can keep up with all of our latest videos. So till next time, stay safe and have a great week. And thanks for watching those endless mysteries.